Good day, Internet. Welcome back to the channel on our 2004 Land Rover Discovery 2 revival, our field find Discovery. Now, we've made great progress. However, we've ran into a setback, and it's not a good one. I mean, Jeremy Clarkson drove a similar Land Rover Discovery to the top of a mountain somewhere in Scotland. However, there's not enough drive in mine to drive it over like an inch lip to take it into my garage. So there's something seriously wrong with the gearbox. And I mean, it's an automatic gearbox. And it's not everybody can work in an automatic gearbox. Manual gearbox is probably easier to fix and more simple. And given the fact that one of the reasons this thing was parked in a field 6 or 7 years ago was a problem with an electronic part on this gearbox, it's a bit nervy now, a bit of a nervy time for us in the revival here of this Land Rover. And I'm looking forward to getting this car on the road. I mean, my good Citroen, which is an AX 1.5 diesel, it's probably not real wise to drive it over the winter. And here we are pushing into the toughest months of the winter, January, February, and probably early March, until when they say the turning of the stone on St. Patrick's Day, the spring begins. However, right now, we need to resolve this problem. So I'm going to remove the gearbox oil. So let's have a look and see what that's like. Now, one of the things I've learned over watching YouTube, two people I like to watch every Sunday when they come on after church, I come home and put them on, is Christian and Vera in LR Time, the YouTube channel. I think they're brilliant. I really enjoy watching them. They're German people. They're so funny. But they're technically very good, and I enjoy their videos. It inspires me quite a lot. Now, one thing they learnt me in their channel, if you're going to change the gearbox oil or the differential oil or the transfer box oil in a Land Rover, the first thing to do is remove the plug for filling it, because if you take the plug out for emptying it, and then you can't get the plug out for filling it, you're in a very precarious situation. So I'm going to have a look now at removing the sump on the gearbox oil out of this Land Rover and replacing the filter and the oil. Hopefully, praise the Lord, it comes out successful. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the gearbox oil. So let's see what it's like. It should be a lovely red colour, and if it's brown, that's a problem. Now, one of the things that is known to be a problem with these gearboxes, removing them, they're held on by 6 10mm head nuts, and they're famous for ringing, shearing. And when that happens, you've got a real big problem, because they're up into the transmission, and I'm not real sure if I've got the capability of repairing that issue. However, I have been soaking them with WD-40 for about 3 weeks, thinking to myself, I'm going to change this filter anyway. But now I'm at a must-do stage. It's not I think I'll change this filter, it's just that I have to change this filter. So let's follow the video and see how we get on. So this is the sump of the automatic transmission on my Land Rover. And here we have these little bolts. There's 6 of them around this Land Rover to hold this sump on. And this is a 5mm Allen key here for removing the plug on the bottom. And then there's one on the side here, which I believe is like, I'm not sure what size it is, but it's an Allen key as well. There it is. So, why not have a watch and see how we get on with this? So I've already loosened the 2 sump bunds. First of all, the one for filling it, as I've said before, which is important, and now the one underneath. So let's see what colour this transmission fluid is. I checked to see if there was enough in it, and it was full. Didn't need any. So that's not the issue, low fluid. But here she comes. We're going to see now what it's like. And it doesn't look very red, it looks very dark. So it's not clean. It's very, very dirty oil for a transmission. I think that should be a reddish colour, not black and dark like that. Now, when that is coming out, what I want to do is I want to try and loosen the 10 millimeter nuts around the side of this. They've been known to be very tricky to remove. However, I've been spraying these with penetrating fluid for a couple of weeks in anticipation of having to do this. So let's see how they are to lift, to open up. Yeah, that's the first one, loose. Well, that was a bit tight, but it's coming. Praise the Lord. Third one. Oh boy, she's tight. But she's coming. Praise the Lord, that's half of them. This one's a wee bit out of the way. It's behind the exhaust. It's hard to get it onto it, locate it. Oh, but that's it. It's coming too. So two more. I'd be nervous about removing these. Oh, no problem at all. Easy. Easy. They're actually loose. So we're now in a position where we can pull this sump down. When I pull the sump down, there's a magnet in it. Now, if that magnet is covered in large shears of metal, we're in big trouble. So hopefully it's not. The oil is so bad. So hopefully, that's our problem. So thankfully, praise the Lord, I have been able to remove the sump from the bottom of the transmission gearbox, or whatever you want to call it. Now, one of the things that's a telltale sign if this gearbox is really bad is there's a magnet in the bottom of this, and there's big lumps of metal on it. Just here, we have a problem. But it's just more sludge. It's all sludgy. No metal on it, just pure sludgy oil. So I'm hopeful that our problem is this oil and filter. And if that is the case, this is a big win. Come on. So these are the clips that hold the sump to the bottom of the transmission. I sprayed these with WD-40 for about 3 weeks before I attempted to take them off. And I'm pretty sure if I hadn't done that, they'd have rung in the actual transmission. They're designed in such a way you don't have to tighten them too tight as to spoil your gasket or nip your gasket. But I'm going to give them a good clean up and refit them. Bit of copper grease, bit of wire, brush, and hopefully they'll be alright. One of them actually lost, couldn't find it anywhere, and eventually found it. Welded itself to the side of the sump pan. So that's it. Wire brushed and cleaned up the pan, ready for paint. Put Hammerite Kursk on it, and I think it's to be painted within 3 hours of it drying. To turn like a black colour, transform the rust, but you need to paint it. It's not good enough on its own. And took all these little clips apart, wire brushed them, lubricated and put them back together. Not sure if that needs some Loctite on it or not. I might just use spring washers, putting them back together. These just had to be nipped up. They're sort of self-tightening in that this part goes onto the pan and the other part slides past to set it at a particular torque. So that's it. The good old sump pan has been treated with Kursk, Hammerite, rust inhibitor or rust transformer or whatever it is, and a good old coat of lumpy Hammerite paint. Hammerite Racing Green for the Racing Green Land Rover. So we have to be optimistic and believe that this is going to take us over the line, transforming this oil and filter in this transmission, and we can finally get this Discovery offered up for an MOT. I want to show you what it looks like with the sump removed from the transmission. And there you have it. So we want to change this filter. There's 3 bolts in it and a couple of O-rings. I've ordered it from eBay, but it hasn't arrived yet. However, when it does, I'm optimistic that we're going to get a breakthrough here. Thank God. So to remove the oil filter of the transmission, there are 3 Torx bolts. 1 on this pipe and 2 retaining at the back, and then it should just lift out. So I'm going to try and relieve it here now. Come on, come out. So that's it. That is the automatic transmission filter removed. We'll put these bolts back in just to sort of know where they are. Well, what I did want to say this morning is that the filter and the gasket and etc. for the transmission gearbox has arrived, and we're going to test and get this Land Rover Discovery running and driving well. However, we have a problem. It hasn't turned up yet. So I have decided to do a few jobs that I was putting off because I didn't essentially want to spend a whole lot of money on this car if we have a gearbox issue. If we have a gearbox issue, this car's scrap. That's about the long and the short of it. Because to take the gearbox out and to have it reconditioned, etc., would just probably turn this car into uneconomically viable. So one of the things we're going to attack today is the dust covers on the back of the calipers, because they're full of holes and rotten. But the problem is, in order to do it, there's 3 bolts that come out of them, but they're completely rusted. So I'm going to have to see what I can do. I'll have to have a look at them here. So, just to show you what I'm up against with these dust covers. Here they are. They're very rotten. I've got 1 bolt out of here, but the rest of them are rotten on both sides. So I'm going to attempt to get them out. I've been soaking them in penetrating fluid and stuff, and I'm going to have a go at getting them out here. I'll let you know how I get on. So, some good news. I got these boys off, and they were hard work to get off. I mean, I tried a little bit of heat, made no difference. I got a smaller socket, as Luke told me, and hammered on, got a couple of them out. Eventually, I took a bit of advice off Trevor Aston, John Corey Motors. He told me, Melvin, make sure you hit them a good slap with a hammer, a big hammer, and don't be afraid of them. So I shot them, and then as I got a couple out, I was able to turn the bracket around and loosen the ones on the top, and eventually got them out. I'm not even sure these are required for an MOT. I'm going to take some advice on that. I mean, if they are, I'm going to have to get them into it, but hopefully not, because I don't want to have to buy them just now. So that's it, they're out. New washer on the sump plug. tighten that up. I'd have to put this oil back in again. Shows you as an amateur mechanic, you can certainly make work for yourself, I'll tell you that much. So this is it. I've got my brass washer. I've broke the sump bung of the engine. And really all I want out of this engine is about a litre or so. But it may all have to come out. It depends whether I can get it juggled around in again. Certainly don't want to drop the sump bung completely. And if I can't get the washer off the sump bung, it's all going to have to come out. It's not coming off. I'm going to screw it up again because I can't get the washer off. I'm not convinced my basin will take all the oil. So let's get a screwdriver. Ah! Not good. So what I'm going to have to do here is I can't get the washer off the old sump washer off the plug. So I'm going to have to take all the oil out. So I'm going to strain the oil that I've just taken out of the car, which is essentially new oil, but to make sure I've dropped nothing in it. And I'm going to put it back in the car. What a plonker, as Dale Boy would say, or maybe, what was Eric Markham, you know, East 5, 4, 4, 4, 5, or the other way around or something. Markham and Wise in the 70s. That's what the feels a bit like, but that's what I'm going to do anyway. And the only thing is, I'm not going to put as much in. So just straining the oil that I've just taken out of the car, that hasn't done any more than about 500 yards, and put it back in again. Ah! Goodness, I hope I haven't put too much in this. It's getting there. Ooh. So, back in she goes. Oh, that is slippy, that old oil is quite slippy stuff. Tell you that. Tundish is a wee bit long for this deal, but I do like the idea of siphoning it all the time. I would hate to get something in it and put it into the engine. Just thinking, wouldn't it be awful if I looked underneath this engine and the oil was running out around that sump plug I put in? Hopefully not. Oops. So the oil is just starting to show in the dipstick. So I'm going to put a little bit more in, but then I'm going to leave it until tomorrow, till it gets completely through the engine, down into the sump. I'm getting a more accurate reading. I mean, I've heard it said that if there's too much oil in these cars, not only is there too much oil, but a known problem in these cars is that oil can't get on the wiring system and run down into the ECU and destroy it. And I don't need to create that problem, so I'm doing my best to eliminate that. So we're now getting very little oil on the dipstick. However, that's how I got caught out before. I mean, it's very cold right here now, and I did not warm this engine up in any way. So I'm going to give it a good bit of time, maybe until tomorrow morning, and then I will check it again and top it up as necessary. Well, what a palaver! What a palaver for just being amateur. But spit a little bit of oil there, but that sort of helps with Land Rover's rust protection system. But anyway, that's that for the oil for today. I'm going to wait until tomorrow. So good morning. It's the next day, and today is going to be a cleaning and polishing day of our wonderful 2004 Land Rover Discovery 2. And the reason it's going to be a cleaning day is because I cannot repair the gearbox, the transmission, because the part hasn't come yet for the the gearbox, the filter, and the various washers and gaskets and stuff that I ordered on eBay. I got in touch with the people who ordered it off yesterday in Wales somewhere, and they said, well, they'll send me out another one. It must have got lost in the post or something. But I told them, look, if it's been posted, it's going to be here. So over the Christmas period, I'm not sure whether they've got to the stage where they said to themselves, oh, we forgot to do it. We'll send them out one now anyway. So if that's the case, it should be here tomorrow or Friday. This is Tuesday. So it's Thursday, it should be here by. So anyway, let's see what happened with the oil that we left last night, just showing on the dipstick and nothing more. How has it settled down? So it actually looks quite reasonable. But I suppose the difficulty is just on the bottom lower mark, and without being able to start the car, and I can't start it because there's no sump on the bottom of the transmission. I don't think I'm going to put any more in it for now. So what I'm going to do is just going to wait until I get the parts for the transmission, gearbox, and then I'll check the oil after running a little bit and it settles down, because I don't want to get to the stage where I have too much in it. And it is at a safe place right now, settled on a safe place. So it's very cold here this morning in Northern Ireland. It's snowing outside. It's not snowing as much as it is in the UK mainland. They're having some great difficulty out there, but it's still cold. So I have a bit of a heater here. I'm going to give it a blast. I'm going to do some time-lapse stuff polishing, cleaning, and we'll see how that turns out throughout the day. This is designated cleaning day. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this car, I'm not advocating this product, but I like it. So there you are. You can have that whatever way you want. But I'm going to give this car a once over with this, and I have already done that in a week or so ago. However, it was just a quick sort of a run over. So I'm going to give it a quick run over with this. Then I'm going to clay bar it. Then I'm going to clean the glass, clean the wheels, clean the inside. There's some lumps and bobbles on the driver's seat in particular. So I'm going to try and figure out how to take them off. Some people say use a razor blade. I don't know if that's going to work, but I'll give it a go. And so it's time now for some time lapse. So just got the polish on. I'm going to just rub it all off here before I start the clay bar. A farmer called up there, Joe Thompson, and he's buying a couple of bales off me of silage, round bales for his cattle. And he said something very interesting to me. I thought I'll pass it on to you, see what thoughts it provokes. He says, have you ever tried nothing? Have a think about that. So that's the car completely rubbed over with wax and cleaned off and buffed off, the wax buffed off. So what I'm going to do now is test out this clay bar. This is a new thing to me. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you polish something and then use clay to rub it? Like, are we not trying to get clay and stuff off it? However, it's what all the experts use. And I'm no expert, don't get me wrong. But I'm going to test out this clay bar theory and see, is there anything in it? So we've been cleaning this car up with a little bit with this clay bar. So what you do is you spray a bit of soapy water on and then you rub the clay bar. Like that. And it's amazing. I never thought it would have been a thing. Like, it originally started off looking like this, which is like a big square of soap or blue tack, I suppose. Feels like blue tack or something like that. But as you rub it on the car, you find resistances. And after a while, those resistances and little bits and lumps and stuff come into the grey bar. And even though I had this car polished with a good polish brand, and that's the second time I've done it, it's amazing how much dirt and rubbish there's still in this car. So this clay bar thing, I have a lot of time for it. I think it's a really good product. Now, one thing I will say about it that you really need to be careful about, if you drop it on the ground, it will pick up grit and rubbish on the ground, and then you rub it on your car, it'll score your car. So you need to hold on to it well, and you need to make sure it's not dirty. So that's the clay bar. I'm going to clay bar the whole car and we'll take a look at it. I haven't cleaned this car a little bit. The colour is amazing. I think they call it Epsom green. Land Rover have some wonderful ways of naming their cars and their colours over the years. Names are important. I've always found a good name is better to be had than riches and honour. The Bible says that. So you should look after your name as best as you can. But this Epsom green is a lovely colour. I mean, they called another colour, was it Stornoway Grey? And it was a lovely colour too. However, I've been thinking about other car manufacturers. So you have the Land Rover Defender. You have the Land Rover Freelander. You have the Land Rover Discovery. And, you know, all sorts of pretty thought-provoking names. And then I thought about, you know, Volkswagen. You have the Volkswagen Bora. Not really inspiring. They need to have a look at their names. Is it the Turag or the Touareg? You know, I think Volkswagen names the names of Volkswagens leave a lot to bizarre. Great cars. There's no doubt about it. But they need to have a wee think about their names. So I'm going to go over the rest of this car and use this clay bar. Well, it's another new day down here on planet Earth. And today it is very cold. I spent the first couple of hours today going around all the cars, checking the antifreeze. Some of them needed drained. So I've drained the water out of them, -5. So it's a bit chilly. As far as the car is concerned, still waiting on the filter for the transmission gearbox. My gut feeling is it'll be here tomorrow, definitely Friday. I don't think they sent it. I think that was an excuse that it's got lost in the post or something. I just think over the Christmas period it was missed, but we're not going to give up. We're going to press on in. You know, pastor in church, he said on Sunday that this Friday is Quitters Friday. How many know we're not quitters? We're going to complete this project. We're going to keep enthusiastic and press on and not give up, cave in and quit. Why he said it was Quitters Friday is because lots of people, because it's a new year, make New Year's resolutions and only 1% ever see them through. However, this Friday is when most of them throw the towel in. Like it's in a boxing match whenever you're just, I give up and throw the towel in and cave in and quit. But this will not be Quitters Friday for us. This is what I'm believing for this Friday is we get the filter and the sump back on the bottom of this gearbox, get the oil into it, run it through its gears, and it runs great. That's the plan. So what I'm going to do right now is I've clay barred this car and got any stuff off it. Although it needs polished again, from what I can see. So I'm going to give it another polish, another buff up, and I'll let you see it when I've got that done. There's no point in you watching me doing the same thing again. So I just had a thought there. And the thought is this. How is it I don't really have a tremendous amount of hair, but I feel like I need a haircut, but I don't want to get a haircut, but if I get a haircut, my head feels cold. How can your head feel cold when you haven't got a whole lot of hair to start off with? I wonder if anyone ever experienced that dilemma. So our Land Rover Discovery's big day has finally come. I mean, at Christmas time, I ordered a new kit to fit on the gearbox, the mechatronic system of the automatic gearbox. It comprises of a filter and 2 O-rings. Each O-ring goes in a different hole. It's clear which one to go on the mechatronic system, or on the filter, which bolts onto the mechatronic system. Just after Christmas time, we got this car running. It was very exciting, but we hit the wall. I mean, when we had it up in the air, we chucked it into gear and everything seemed to be fine. However, when we took it for a ride around the yard, the gearbox clearly wasn't working correctly. I mean, it wouldn't go up a small hump unless you took a run at it. So I checked the gearbox oil, and the gearbox oil was fine, level-wise. However, it was very dirty. So what I've decided to do was get this mechatronic system gearbox filter and see does it make any difference. I mean, I'm an optimistic sort of a person, so I believe it will. However, you know, professional people will say, well, that's just wishful thinking, you know, but look, it's good to be positive, and I'm going to fit it in it, and we're going to see what happens. I mean, hitting the wall, what do I mean by hitting the wall? I mean, when an athlete is running a marathon, they reckon there's a time when they're running where they hit a difficult spot, and it's commonly known as hitting the wall, maybe around 20 miles. And I mean, that's the time when a lot of athletes or even amateurs who are running marathons cave in, give up and quit. However, they say if they carry on, even though they've hit that wall, after a mile or so, they get a new life, a new breath, and all of a sudden, it's easy to run. So, I'm believing we fit this filter to this automatic gearbox, we're going to get over the wall and enjoy this car. So let's check it out and see what happens. So assuming the big O-ring goes around here, and the little O-ring goes around here. You wonder why they don't just put them on in the factory. So that's the O-rings on. Ready now to mate it up to the gearbox. Is that even possible? No. Oh, I thought the bolts had fell out there. I was just looking at it wrong. So, first bolt I'm going to attempt to fit is the one through the pickup. Or should it be the other way around? Maybe the other way around. The shorter bolts go into the end of it, and the long bolt goes through the pickup. Remember what pocket you put it in, Alvin, will you? Alright, I'll do that. Come on, Davey. Get in there. Doesn't feel right, that doesn't feel right. Ah! Yeah, that's it, more like it now. I mean, a wee bit of oil that fell into it there actually made it go in easier, huh? How about that? I thought it didn't look plumb, but all the bolts are fitting in the correct holes. So that's the new filter installed onto the gearbox. 3 bolts, and the old pickup put back on. It's fine. Give it a bit of a clean, or maybe give it another little wipe with a rag there. Cleanliness is a big thing in relation to an automatic gearbox for sure. So now for the sump. So I've cleaned the 2 surfaces up, fitted the new gasket to the sump system. Little magnet down at the bottom, which is cleaned up as well, and hopefully I can get it secured in place. That's it. It feels right there. Feel a bit like Norman Wisdom or somebody up there. I'll tell you one thing. For me, putting the sump on was really tricky. I mean, particularly the passenger side here in the UK. There's an exhaust in the road. There's a gearbox mounting in the road. I've often heard Fuzz Townsend, you know, in that classic SOS cars. And he would say, Melvin, put the hardest bolt in first. Well, I didn't do that initially. But I'll tell you one thing. I put the hardest bolt in first. At the last, and if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have got it on. But I have got it on, I'm happy to say. I haven't nipped the gasket. So I'm going to go now to WR Hamilton's in Portadown and pick up some transmission fluid for this good car and see how it works. So this is our new sump pan fixed in place. The hardest one was this one in here. It's in the round fiddly gearbox mount or something, and these ones here were really tricky. Where the exhaust was, I was able to put a big screwdriver in and leave the exhaust over enough to get them on, but that's it in. So there's the fill plug. I'm going to take that out after lunch here. The day of reckoning will have arrived. So I've just got this tool. Just basically, who put that there? Basically just like a big syringe. You put it in here, you suck the fluid out, and then you put it in through the little, the hole that I showed you earlier on there in the sump pan of the transmission. Now, it's supposed to hold like something like 9.2 litres, but I had nothing that got come out of it, so I'm going to put into it where it'll come to the overflow stage, and then we'll see how we get on from there. So I'm just going to screw the filler how you fill it, the bung to allow you to fill it, and it comes out with a Allen key. So that's the filler bung, Allen key. I'm now going to suck up some transmission fluid just brought in from WR Hamilton's. I'm going to start putting it in essentially till it starts running out. It's a little bit tricky to get it in. There's pipes in the way. So that's the first bit. Transmission fluid going into it is a pink colour. The stuff that we come out was really dark and black. So it definitely was due a change, that's for sure. So I've put enough transmission fluid into it till it's running out. But mind you, that only took like 3 litres. There's definitely more than that come out of it. So what I need to do now is, my understanding, is to let the car down, lower, start the engine up, and let the gearbox pull the fluid around itself. Then top it up as necessary. That's my whole 5 litres in. I didn't get that much out, I didn't think. It's a good sign. So, I need to go and get more automatic transmission fluid. Jimmy Hamilton's more down. More down, sir. I don't know if that's a good sign. I'm hoping it's a good sign. So I went to start the car to put more fluid in so that it would suck it around the gearbox. The battery was flat. So I put a bit of power on it there with the battery charger. Let's see what happens this time. So that's it. I've changed the oil and the filters of the transmission automatic gearbox, and I'm optimistic it's going to be a good job. I mean, it took 7.5, 8 litres of fluid, which means there was only like 1 and a bit in it left. And that's probably because it's been sitting for a few weeks waiting for the filter to come. So I suppose you're thinking to yourself, well, you're going to take it out now and give it a run. And no, I'm not. I'm going to wait till tomorrow morning. Well, why are you going to wait till tomorrow morning? Well, I'm going to go to the gym. You're going to the gym. Well, you don't think you got to be like Mr. Universe, just working at Land Rovers and stuff and classic cars. No, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to relax a bit. It's a big deal for me for a real mechanic. It's a doddle, like, but not for me. It was quite a big deal, this transmission thing. I'm optimistic that it's going to be all right. I mean, there was 2 lights in the dash relating to the gearbox that are no longer on, so that's a good sign, I think. So right now I'm going to relax. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to relax a bit. I'm going to enjoy the evening, and tomorrow morning we're going to run this car and see how it goes. Now here's the thing. I haven't a clue how to do this automatic gearbox transmission filter change thing. I followed a video on YouTube by Atlantic British, and it was a marvelous illustration of how to do it. And I followed them to everything that they had done. So I want to thank them for, obviously, their YouTube channel. And anyway, I'll see you soon. So this is the launch. Will she even move? We're going to find out. Well, it moves, but I'm not convinced at the sharpness of this gearbox. Still sounds a bit like it's trying to bleed itself all the time. But I'll take it for a run. So, we're going to take it for a drive and see how it goes. On a positive note, there's no lights on the dash. And maybe it just needs a bit of driving, to be fair. I just don't know. But we're moving anyway. No lights in the dash. And you know what, sitting for all that time, maybe it just needed drove. However, I didn't want to do a lot of driving in it on the basis that I knew the oil in it had to be a bit suspect, and I didn't want to damage it for the sake of changing the oil. But right now, it's moving and driving. We're coming to the first hill now. So let's see how that sounds. Still no lights in the dash, which is a real positive. It's going up the hill good. Really good. Changing gear. At this stage, it's an awful lot better. Yeah! Praise the Lord! It's going well. I do think it needs driving though. But that has made a big difference. No lights in the dash. And it seems to be going good. So glory to God. So last week, it wouldn't drive up that small ramp into the garage. It's only like 1.5 inches. So I'm going to try it this week over this curb and see does it make any. Well, it wasn't last week. I mean, it was Christmas time. So I've sat in eggs this whole time waiting to see what happened. So let's try it and see if it'll drive up the curb. Oh dear. if I take that tow bar off, we're ready for that Scottish mountain that Jeremy Clarkson went up. Whoopie do! Praise the Lord! This Land Rover, it's such a good looking Land Rover, great colour, the seats in it are amazing and its condition is really good given the amount of time it's been off the road. Now we have the gearbox sorted, we're so happy to have that done. However, there's still a whirring noise when you rev the engine. Now we put some oil in the ACE system, which is active corner enhancement, last night, and it stopped for a little while. So my guess is that that is what the problem is. But we're ready for an MOT other than that. Now the wheels are pretty ropey, just maybe past the MOT and nothing more. And I think ultimately what I want to do is put BF Goodwood's about 3 tyres on it on a smaller rim. That's my desire. Like, my hope for this car is that we can enjoy it as a family for many years. It's 7 seats, and I mean the seats in the back are just so good, they're immaculate, you know, and the headrests come down there, so it gives you 7 row of seats with little cup holders and all here. It's really nice condition. The seats in the back look like they've hardly been sat in. Like, this is a real good Land Rover. I mean, there's some cleaning to do around these door handles and stuff, but other than that, and I want to get a bottle remover in order going off eBay just to take. Up here is good, but just down here where people have been sitting a lot, this is suede and it's just sort of lifted, made it a little bit bally. I need to clean the interior. The carpets and all are amazing. The condition of them is just superb. So that's it for right now. We just wanted to chat about the capabilities of this car. This is a tremendously capable car, this Land Rover Discovery. I mean, its off-road ability is tremendous. But one thing it's a wee bit weak on. The wheelbase of this car is perfect for off-road, 100-inch wheelbase or something. But in order to have 4 forward-facing seats in this car, I mean, this is a 7-seater car. 2 lovely seats pulled up in the back here, and they turn round to have 2 forward-facing seats. Really only good enough for kids, I suppose. I mean, adults could get into it, but it wouldn't be tremendously comfortable. But what that done was compromise its off-road ability. From the back wheel to here is longer than the first Discovery. And the thing about that is, when your departure angle, I mean, as you seen the other day, when I was going up the grass over the curb, this tow bar hit the ground, poor tarmac split. Well, not really, but it certainly gave it a good old scrape. And that's a weakness with this car. Its departure angle is longer than what you would expect for a really strong off-roader. I mean, if the suspension's raised up a couple of inches and you do away with the tow bar, it'd be a bit better. That's quite low down. So, just wanted to explain that. And like, for that car, just to, like, it would have went up that grass bank, no problem, with ropey enough tyres for doing that. And this is January. I mean, it's amazing capabilities off road. But that's one weakness I thought I'd just let you know about. Well, we've had some ups and downs with this Land Rover. I mean, it's looking great, and it's a pleasure to drive. The biggest concern we had was over the gearbox, and we thought we'd broke through with the gearbox, but we had a bit of a setback the other night. But we've got round that setback, and I want to show you what happened. I feel a little bit like Winston Churchill at the end of the Second World War, when Europe was won, victory was won in Europe, he said we may allow ourselves a brief period of rejoicing, knowing that he still had to, along with the Allies, the Americans and so forth, beat the Japanese, and they were never likely to give up. So there are I've had some things that we still have to deal with, but I want to show you this little video of what happened the other night. So all right initially, then that noise comes. Do you hear it? But she's in park and the transmission's in neutral. I'll turn this here to full lock. No different, the noise. It's like a, hear that sort of. But can that be the gearbox whenever? So if you knock her off, it's like it starts up after she's running for a second. But that's it, that's what she's doing. So what happened was, the gearbox was running fine. I mean, it would climb up hills, it would nearly pull the house down. However, there was that whirring noise. And we thought it was the gearbox still, even though the gearbox was working fine. So I called I reached out on Facebook on the Land Rover Discovery site on Facebook, that people phone or bring their problems, and everyone comes around as sort of like a family to help each other to break through in certain situations. And Kelvin seen it, and he said he was going to come up and have a look at it. So that was fine. So as Kelvin was coming up to my house here to have a look at it, Kelvin's my nephew, I call him, because he grew up with my children, although he's probably my second cousin, to be fair. But he's a great lad. But on his way up, I decided I'd put some more oil in the reservoir for the ACE, which active corner enhancement, which stops the Land Rover going around a corner leaning over too much. I mean, it's an extra that the Land Rover doesn't necessarily need, but it's quite a benefit. But I put some more oil in it, and the whirring noise stopped. So we thought that was it. That was all was wrong with it. They need a little bit more oil in the AC system. However, the next morning, whenever I started it, it was back again with lots of oil in the AC system. So there's that gearbox playing up again. So what I decided to do last night, Calvin was coming back up again. I took the drive belt off, which runs the AC, the air conditioning, the power steering, everything off, so that would eliminate them things that they weren't working, and see if it was whirring. And it is not whirring. Glory to God. Because if that gearbox was scrap and whirring in this car was essentially scrap. But thank God it wasn't the gearbox. Now we have the serpentine belt off. What I wanted to do was finish this video with yes, we've got an MOT, or at least we've got a list of stuff we need to do to get it through the MOT. However, we need to try and either fix whatever's doing this whirring, like, or else we need to do away with the AC altogether, the ACE altogether. So that's where we're at now. So we're going to end the video here. The Land Rover looks amazing. I mean, for a car that was laying in the field essentially for 6 or 7 years, it has come up so good. The previous owner had the inside of it in lovely condition. The seats are in lovely condition. There's so many bits and pieces I'd like to do to it. But what I really want to do, I want to use this car for the next, 10 or 15 years, not all the time. Take the children to the beach, put nice wheels on it, maybe a roof rack in the top of it before spotlights on it. To buy a Defender, which is simply not as good as in my opinion, to drive as one of these. I've drove lots of Defenders. These are better to drive, much better, more comfortable, more benefits. And but I see it with, smaller rims on it, with mud terrain tires. I see it with the roof rack on it, with 4 spotlights on it, and a ladder up the back, and looking sort of cool. It gives you that feeling. Do you need it? No, not really. It's how it makes you feel. Do you know something? How a car makes you feel, to me, is important. And that's why I chose this Land Rover for my family. It's a 7-seater. I mean, when we get grandchildren on, we can go to the beach in the summertime. That's where the vision is. So I want to end this video here. And you know, I want to thank everybody who's encouraged me. There's lots of people who encouraged me. I'm so grateful for that. But we are going to get this Land Rover through the MOT and running, and we're going to enjoy it. So thanks for watching, and thanks for the encouragement. See you next time.